Hello, Eduardo. Good morning.
Hi, Sanjay. Good morning.
Okay. So it's June 22nd, and we are recording the episode 7 of the Water Lobby podcast. And this episode is going to be very much centered around Texas Water Fund and water utility, and also other projects that are happening in and around Central Texas region, like which is both San Antonio and Austin. So, without further ado, Uh,
We're going
have
to be
you?
discussing some money today. Is that
Yes,
what it sounds like?
yes. So Texas Water Fund just launched its renewal. So basically, it's been $1 billion last time that they started it, and now they've increased it to $2.5 billion for this year, and $1 billion each year going forward. And the big point of discussion that I wanted to have with you, other than the fact, like, okay, it's great that so much money is going to be going into water. Uh, they're saying it's going to be funded through sales tax, and you and I had this conversation where, like, hey, is sales tax the best way to fund water infrastructure? Especially because the water infrastructure has aging issues, or infrastructure in general has aging. So over time, it becomes more of operations and maintenance issue than new infrastructure. And one thing that they have done with Texas Water Fund is 50% of the money is supposed to be going into new water, and 50% is to be going into repair and operations and maintenance of like existing infrastructure. So maybe I wasn't clear about that part, but uh, what do you feel about like this being funded through sales tax? And hello, Felice.
Okay, so I'm going to give my son a snack. I'm sorry about that. So we could keep
No
him off
worries.
bay for the next 30 minutes. The percentage allocation of the fund, I think 50% and 50%, of course, seems really simple. And in my experience, a lot of the value is in proving to the residents that
Yes.
this was a good investment. In my experience working in construction and in design review, um, we know that sometimes the budgets that we have can suffer from a phenomena called scope creep, right? Where you want to, before you begin constructing and fixing something, you have to write a scope of services that kind of forms a contract, is the beginning of a contract language. And in these civil engineering um, worlds, we have a lot of organizations, a lot of businesses that their relationship is the contract. Um, and so it's good that we have so much allocated, but I think we should also allocate to some form of insurance um, for these projects, because sometimes you start constructing a project and you discover that uh, some parts of the ground of the excavation zone require repair, and you're right there, to fix it. And so I think we should have some form of project management organization, or some form of I know we discussed it in the last episode, like the project managers, or the bureaucracy that we pay to manage our big budget projects. And I think we need to have that as part of the conversation, is kind of like, this is how much we're going to allocate to these particular projects, and see which ones we succeed with. We'll pay more out to those. So I think it should be a phased approach to such a broad allocation. Um, do you have you been in situations where you're giving money, like a budget, to fulfill the contract obligation, and then the contract isn't that good. You know, you're like, oh, we need to fix the contract.
Yeah, all the
Um,
time.
so I think that that's an important kind of component in this big budget conversation. It's not like just yes or no. It's like how and
Yeah.
how can we plug into that conversation? I'm already plugged into that conversation. Do you think many of our listeners kind of know how to plug in to how much of that budget is going to their city? I know for my city because we're taxing people, but and we try to tax, but in your kind of space, in your workspace, how do you relate to this water development fund, this 2.5 million or 1.5 million?
Billion, $2.5 billion.
2.5 billion. Yeah, how do you relate to that fund? Do you know your role, I guess, or your city's role?
Yeah, so I think Texas Water Development Board is kind of playing the role of the construction manager, or like just the manager who is going to allocate this fund. Or and in that sense, they're the ones who are going to determine the scope, and they're the ones who are going to review the applications from each of these cities. And of course, they've went through the cycle of water planning, and they've been going through cycles of flood planning. Uh, but at the same time, I don't. I feel like both of those planning cycles kind of missed some key points. First, which was the growing demand due to data centers of water usage, which the water plan likely missed. And also, we missed a lot of these population growths that Texas has experienced recently. And we've missed the AI cycle. So, one thing that I wanted to kind of talk about in later part also was how AI is bringing productivity growth overall in America. But all these projects which have like these huge ticker symbols, or like these high values of like millions of dollars, $100 million for like putting a pipeline. For example, we'll talk about GBRA, which is building a pipeline from the coast back to their region in central Texas, and the project's marked at $6 billion. So a lot of these high ticker items really need to refocus on whether they have gained some productivity because of artificial intelligence, or just efficiency. And I think I got kind of got derailed about the scope discussion, but the scope of the project will always change, and that's why we have change orders, and also we have that personal relationship between the contractor and the owner. So they kind of have this mutual understanding where, okay, we'll wing it, we'll do all the things you asked for, and once in a while we'll add a few things, and some once in a while we won't do some of these other things. And that's based on like trust, right? It's where these legal contracts kind of uh, have to go second, and we just try to do it based on like human relationships. And it's pretty challenging. I think that's the role which Texas Water Development Board has been playing for a while, in the grant management process. But what I think the challenge they would see is that a lot of their staff, or like in general, like government staff, has aged out of their roles. So you could probably see in any city that you're living in, the general number is that 50% of all staff is going to retire soon, and or they've probably already started retiring. So there's no that information repository, or subject matter experts who had that history of these scope changes, these how these long-term projects kind of get shaped over time. But again, I think this is going to be very challenging. Like, how is this state going to use this money efficiently? Uh, I don't know if I answered your question, but and for like I think from our listeners' perspective, I do feel like our listeners are kind of more on the younger spectrum of engineering. So I'm not fully sure that they follow like the entire cycle of a project from like legislature all the way down to like execution or like when water starts coming in from your tap. This whole cycle usually takes around 10 to 20 years. And I don't think people fully understand, or it's. I mean, I don't understand it fully
Well, I
either.
guess let's kind of back off and ask ourselves, are we in a state of financial crisis, or do we have enough redundancy in our system to where essential services will not be impacted? Do you think that essential services will be impacted by this uh, blind spot, so to speak, or do you think that this budget allocation kind of gives us breathing room to figure out our blind spots?
Yeah, so I have like my personal belief is that there's $80 billion that they requested for water infrastructure. They only got two. So it's a drop in the bucket. It's not going to help the critical infrastructure from being saved. But at the same time, I believe in uh, human ingenuity, which basically means that I think when the time comes, we'll have these city managers, we'll have these water superintendents who will find a way to, execute in times of crisis. People will be able to respond to like boil water notices or uh, leaky pipes or just, damaged or aging infrastructure in a way that they haven't been able to by using, for example, ChatGPT. So previously, the entire cycle of them having to like fix one small problem in their system would require bringing a subject matter expert. But now that it's all on your, it's so much more accessible, and it is more like you're having that interaction with the other person that very human like. So you could be asking like regular questions to your AI chatbot, where you're asking them like, hey. Um, I have this problem in my water system. Uh, how much should it cost me? Where can I, fix it? What's my uh, go-to strategy? And I think because of that, I think we will be saved. But I don't think the Texas Water Fund like will be the one saving us. So I'm more on the side of like the technology and human ingenuity in solving crisis than this. I don't want to call it drop in the bucket, but kind of does seem like it. So you not audible. Sorry.
Yeah, I think in the universe of phenomena, um, my interest is in climate change,
Yes.
because that has such a broad environmental effect. And as an engineer, I think more about the root problem as opposed to the symptoms of the system. And yeah, I'm embedded in this situation where the impact I would like to have in the education of the water issue is that it's one issue in relation to like we have water, so humidity for our plants, for our air conditioning systems is important. But if you don't have electricity to power your AC, you really begin to identify what is the critical aspect of our conversation. And so today, let's kind of just discuss the money, but with the acknowledgement that this is only one response to a, a big scene in that's affecting our world, which is how do we make great engineers that have very, very little money? So how do
Yeah.
we train them for that situation, which you have all these project goals like fix the pipe, right? But you don't know if you're going to have the money for your design, or you don't know if you're going to have the software for your design, like the right software for your what is it called, your municipality. And that's where you said the city manager is intended to be an expert. But now that we have AI, can city managers, do you think city managers can compete with um, AI? Because the city manager that we hire for the city of Austin gets paid a quarter mil, no,
Oh,
about a
half
quarter
a
million
half a mil,
dollars
half a mil.
or $500,000, right? And in my case, you know how many streets I can fix with $500,000? More than I can at the moment. So do you think that management AI is a valuable way to organize our projects to save money?
100%. I think the way, we are already like, you know, the system is already there. So we already have systems where people can complain about their streets. Like, you have 311, you have other ways where people can tell you that, hey, I have a pothole. So the information pipeline is already there. So, and what does AI need? It just needs information, it needs data. And so it can already, process it and then build a strategy for you. It can break down the numbers on, like, it knows how much money the city is going to collect based on first, like, your tax revenue, and then it knows from the how population projections. It knows all basically caveats, other revenue streams the city might have. So it can definitely, make that 5 year strategic plan or CIP that, you know, consultants charge like millions of dollars to build, and it can definitely do it in a much more efficient way. And I would like to coin a term, real time. So it could probably do it real time. So instead of having to wait 4 or 5 years for the cycle of, CIPs to finish, we could probably be doing it like more right now. Like, hey, we know how much revenue we're going to get generate. We know uh, what's our need of the citizens. We know our like 50-year projection, and so I think it's definitely doable. But I think your scenario was one in which you have this very resourceful city where there are 50,000 or 30,000 people working to contribute to better life for the people. But when I was talking about earlier, I was referring to like cities which have a population of 100, or and they only have one person or maybe four people that represent the entire city staff. And in that case, I don't see the Texas water fund being trickled down. So they call it trickle down economics. And I don't think it's going to trickle down all the way to those people who are like, who have been winging it and who have been like doing it from the support of their community. I feel like they're going to be relying more on technology, and they're going to be able to make decisions faster, where they like the concept of even having an engineer or a lawyer or somebody who is specialized in one thing, and you have to hire them for tens of thousands of dollars. I think that's an old um concept. I feel like if you're a small city or small community with like less than 1,000 people, you have access to the same amount of resources now, or same amount of information that a city with 1 million people with tens of billions of dollars of budget would have. And another thing I wanted to just point out is like a lot of these large cities, they're wasting money, because I can see on the procurement that a lot of the cities are procuring for AI based email writing software. Like, what does that mean? Like, AI based email writing software. Like, why? Like, okay, I mean, I get it. Why would you need it? But like, when compute is essentially free, like, and you don't have to pay for like email writing software which is ChatGPT, Bing, Copilot, or a bunch of these other like free softwares, I feel like large cities are only going to be like wasteful for a while the smaller cities will be able to like are kind of getting subsidized because somebody's paying for the AI, and the smaller cities could be using it for free and basically bringing up like same solutions, same level of efficiency as a larger city. So it kind of evens the playing field. Does it
So
make
I
sense?
have a lot of interest and a curiosity about AI competing with humans in what we consider to be human centric activities like planning construction or like saving money or like finishing a project, which are all different activities. We just use, code words for what that means, really. And I also have questions as a manager of skills, right? Because when we have a tool, sometimes we over rely on it and we expect it to tell us things that the tool's not really designed to fix. We have a tendency to buy stuff and then use it for what it's designed to do, but then use it for other stuff that maybe it's not right to do. And that comes with insurance, right?
Yes.
So if we have companies or individuals using AI as a tool, is there insurance language that can help the user of that tool um, litigate with success against clients? Because it really is about, you said, relationships, and the most meaningful relationships are the ones in which you're present and you're seen in an authentic way. That's kind of like, it's predictable, it's comforting, I guess. Maybe some business relationships can be comforting, I don't know. But I think we're talking about business, right? And we're not talking about like design, like human centered design, because I'm not a business owner. I wish to be, but I am a designer for people. And as I hope to get to my business owner persona or goal, do you think I will have to maybe go to AI in the future? Because I don't like AI because it seems kind of dehumanizing because you use AI to deal with a ton of people effectively, but I don't like dealing with a ton of people effectively. I only like dealing with the amount of clients I have time for. So I think, do you think AI is like too good to use because it allows you to be open to so many people all at once? Because I always think like, how many clients do people really want? Do you really want 100 clients, or do you just want 10 good ones? Because I wonder, like, as a business, as an entrepreneurial engineer, AI is of interest to you. It's not of interest to me, but you're making it interesting to me in this episode because it could help save money. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
It could help save a lot of money
definitely.
from the status quo.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of inching towards is like we start talking about construction and change orders and like projects derailing, and that's where AI really plays. We can already start seeing and probably will see more of is like construction projects actually completing on budget and on schedule, which would be like, I think we'll all take a gasp and be like, hey, what did just happen? Like, how did I-35 finish on time? And you and one of the reasons, of course, would be the construction language, which is like we're putting CMAR or contracts, which enables that. But at the same time, the amount of productivity that is being gained by younger professionals who are just graduating out of college. So what happens in a typical construction project is like you put all these resumes of these people who are like, 50 years of experience, and you like say like this guy is going to be like, designing everything, and that's only companies put it for just for doing the work, and then they put somebody who is a EIT or just graduated from UT Austin. No, no, offense to the Longhorns, but person who graduates straight out of college, they likely won't have the same level of expertise to finish the project on time, right? But what AI enables them to do is it it can he can ask questions better because first of all, this newer generation, it is trained in that way to have reasoning, to like be able to ask the right question, and at the same time get answers that help the project, succeed. And previously there were so many stigmas around it, like you couldn't ask the question to a person with higher experience because you would be like, hey, are they going to judge me? Are they going to be like, hey, this person doesn't know anything, why did we hire him? This is such a stupid question, like, those things which I feel like a lot of people have built in stigma. Not It's not entirely bad, it's just it is how it is. And I feel like that's what AI has helped, is to like all the stupid questions, they are being answered right now, like how to boil an egg, you know how to draw a line on ArcGIS. You can just take a screenshot of Excel spreadsheet and kind of get all the formulas you need to build up the entire schedule. And I think that's going to bring massive amount of efficiencies. While we talked about also like over reliance, and I feel like whenever we say over reliance on
Wait,
it,
wait,
what
wait, wait, wait. I want to slow down
yeah
because I'm just gonna shorten what you were saying. You're like over reliance. We always over rely. You're never gonna get over it. So I'm already done with that question. Do you think that we can have, and this is something I heard about, and we're getting really futuristic because I like this, was using AI as the consortium for text-based litigation. Because
yes
like use AI as a library, like this is the Austin AI of this is the Austin library. It's an AI model. And within it, it's all the text. And we verified that this is how it was physically versioned. And so do you think a city can have a formal AI that's like, this is the city's legal
yeah
AI? Do you think there's legal AI?
100%. So
Oh, tell me more.
yes. So first, there's a company called Crosby Legal. So Crosby Legal. So what they claim is they're basically trying to fulfill the exact same thing. And then I wanted to touch on two topics as we lead to Crosby Legal. First is the agents. You might have heard of like agentic behavior. So in future we're all going to have our own personalized agents. So what does that mean? So it means there will be an agent that knows what I exactly want, what I want to eat for lunch, where I want to travel, and based on that it will make decisions for like my Airbnb stay and my Uber, right? But that's personalized. And then they always build like the ones for like corporations. So for a city, there will be an AI that represents that city. And it, for example, the smaller cities already follow kind of like the Texas Municipal Code, which is the central code. You don't have to like build your own like legal stuff, and you kind of just follow it. It's like pre-written, same schematic kind of thing, and it works for everyone. So a lot of smaller ones, they could just buy the AI, which represents the Texas Muni Code, and and then corporations would have their own agent, and the agents would be able to make that engagement and decision. And second is a concept called human in the loop. So GBRA, one of the agencies here, they already have it in their legal framework where if you get work from them as a vendor, you have to put a human in the loop. So you could be automating everything, but you still have to have a human who charges 1 hour to actually review the whole thing. And that's where Crosby AI, this legal company, really succeeded in, where they're saying like, hey, we're gonna do everything through AI, but we'll still put a lawyer who will charge 1 hour. And you already know like how much these lawyers like, there's like $700 an hour or $1,000 an hour. It's like the standard fee for a lawyer in US. And they could be just charging 1 hour to just make sure that the AI did its job okay, and there is no like uh, going to be a future conflict. And even with all the best lawyers in the world, we always have conflicts. We always have, like, and with AI also we'll have conflicts, and it's just the natural state of progression. Um, so yeah, I think there will be agents for cities which could be executing contracts on behalf of the city with a consultant or a vendor. I think that's definitely happening for sure.
This is my kind of big critique of AI in general is that AI is not going to have any babies. So we're not going to be paying AI. We're going to be paying corporations to build AI systems, AI interface with our construction activity, which an agricultural activity. So, do you think agriculture AI can fix climate change?
Yes, I think 100%, and we've already seen.
Do you think it has an interest in doing so?
Yes, for sure, it has an interest in I think preserving itself, which basically means you know preserving the colder climates, right? Like the Antarctics and the Arctics. And we have already kind of seen that the ice caps are slowly, I think, getting back to like they're increasing in size. There's a little bit of research that came out recently where um, there is more ice in the Arctics, and I think AI would definitely like for it to be more colder, where it can have, because it's basically generating a lot of heat through like GPUs, and if it can somehow find a way to like
I
stay
don't
colder.
think it can do that. That's the thing, is that AI is trained for the past, but it's not trained for the future. And that's what I mean is that AI may have an interest in making it colder, but it has never happened. So how can we rely on it to know what we know? Like we know what's necessary. AI also knows what's necessary, right? Or does it not
Yeah.
know?
I think it will benefit. It knows that it. I mean, of course, if it wants to maximize its footprint, it could probably, just expand all the data centers into and make cut down every tree and make it into a data center. But at the same time, I think there will be, overall, I think we'll see ways in which the climate will, improve for the better, and
Yeah, I
that.
actually think the climate is gonna go the direction it's been headed, which is faster and faster. I think this year alone, we kept breaking records and we've gotten used to breaking records. And that's actually insane that we've gotten used to breaking records. So I don't think AI is going, I think AI might make it worse for us as people living because legal the legal framework of living is making it more legal for AI to thrive and for engineers with education, like with computer science degrees, they're not finding jobs. I read on the news that Intel was going to lay off 100,000 employees, like all over wherever. Is that like if AI is going to fix the planet by laying off people? I don't know how it's going to do that.
Yeah, and I
I
think.
question because many people have are not finding jobs right now. It's a really tight market, I think. I don't know. Do you think it's a kind of not a whole lot of jobs to go around?
Yeah, definitely. I mean that happens every time there is a technological change. So when they used to have, the sewing machines or like machines that would like before that people would use their hands to make clothes, and then the machine came and it just took everybody out of job. And that happened again when everybody was doing typewriters, and then computer came, and all the people like my dad personally, he was good at typewriter, and then he couldn't adapt himself to computers. He lost his job, and then happened again. People who were like in the in the 90s, they were using papers, and then smart devices came, and then they lost their jobs. And then it's the same cycle that's happening where a newer technology comes, and the older generation kind of loses their job. But this time, the one thing that's different is, first, there is a lot of abundance in the world. So what does it mean? It means like the amount of calories you can get for $5 is significantly higher than it's ever been. Like for like you can get a lot of calories for a really low value. And then I think this is the opportunity where I'm seeing personally people who I'm interacting with. It's like they're trying to find a different purpose in life. They're not like just chasing like software jobs anymore. They're not like at just being like, hey, I'm gonna code my way out of my mental health issues. They're like, hey, I might, do 10,000 steps a day. I'll do yoga. I'll do gardening. A lot of people that I'm meeting, or it could be just the bubble that I'm in, but the people that I'm meeting, they're like very purpose driven. They're building like large agricultural farms, which are fully automated in Caldwell County. They're using this free time that they have gotten to pursue something that they've always wanted to do. For example, podcasting, right? A lot of people are doing that. People are getting into stand-up comedy. People are becoming poets. So, whenever this new change of technology, it's kind of giving us back some of the time that we kind of felt like we didn't have, because you know I think our parents had to work like 60 hours a week, and we only have to work 40. The next generation's probably going to work 30, and then that's just freeing up a lot of time and resources and human ingenuity, where we don't all have to be pushing papers around, or just making models. Like I spent like first 2 years of my career just like drawing streamlines and like drawing cross sections on them, and just like that's what I would do, like waking up and then till sundown, just like drawing cross section, drawing rivers. And I, I just I feel like that time could have been much more useful if I was probably just putting it towards my own mental health, personal relationships, my family. um, and that's where I feel like looking at, and I think it's gonna be pretty good. But we'll have to start the call again, because this is going to end soon.
Yeah. Well,
Let's start.
my screen. Water.
Okay. Okay, we're back. So, okay, should we switch gears a little bit to something different, or you want to keep going?
Well, I'd say I wanted to respond
Okay.
to the time of work because I also grew up with my mom. She worked two jobs, um, undocumented, and that was kind of tough to be kind of like not educated, looking for a career. And I think many people are still not in careers that I would, maybe they don't have to be in careers, but I think, like you said, maybe they'll work 30 hours a week instead of 40. I think that for me has been something I observed about Europe,
Yeah.
that their work life balance was more balanced. And I thought, if we're the greatest country in the world, it's kind of affected my identity. It's like, why do I work so hard? As you know, they apparently are the pinnacle of culture, and we're the pinnacle of wealth, but we work harder than they do. And so I think for me, I wanted to respond to just highlight that that's one of my big dreams, is that if we actually figured out um like general intelligence, artificial general intelligence, then can we go work 30 hours now? Like my generation did it. Like I fixed the subways or the roadways, and my best friends that studied computer science, like they did it. They solved it. Like, can I take credit? Can me and my friends take credit and get some rest, you know? So I think that has been my big question to this trust fund for AI, which is out there, you know, obliterating countries just for the petroleum to actually energize our data centers. Like that's the reason for war. And if can that take us to a 30-hour work week? That's to me, that's why we're killing people. Is because we don't want to work so much anymore. And that's kind of like an awful connection. But I mean, people were almost drafted, you know. I don't want to go back to that.
Yeah.
Uh, what do you think about the role of AI in its relation to like geopolitics? Do you think there's a relationship there? I think there
Yeah.
is. And that's to
There,
me where like it becomes unethical, but that it takes that level of connection. I don't know if it's
yeah, and one, I mean, I have been listening to a few podcasts about that topic, and one thing that America has really sold the rest of the world, and including myself, is like this AI is the new big leap in humanity, and if you don't uh, follow it, if you don't get to it, you will be behind. And with that, they have been able to, first of all, sell these massive data centers to Saudis. They've been able to sell this to some of the European countries, I think, and also every country is again in this race. For me, from where I look at it, is like this is the second nuclear movement. First time it was when Oppenheimer invented nuclear bomb, and then every country had to race to achieve a nuclear energy or nuclear future. I think this is the second time where America has really sold this idea that if you don't buy these services from us, which includes NVIDIA's large GPUs and then these specialized contractors who build data centers, these racks and everything, if you don't buy it from us right now, you will be left behind. And definitely, I think those create massive geopolitical implications for, I think, everybody. Um, and again, I feel like the future definitely you know involves us working less than our parents did, and there have been productivity gains. For example, we are not meaninglessly just uh, you know writing reports anymore because we know for a fact now that this thing doesn't make any sense. Like AI is just so much better at pushing out gibberish that you know people are not asking for it anymore. I feel like, um, but again,
I
there are
agree with you that this is both that second nuclear moment, but also not, depending on how you want to tell your story. Like you participate in it, and that's good. And the tragedies that happen, you're like, I told them. Or you could be like a more on a different narrative or a third narrative, you know, that I can't think about right now. And then be like, well, that's how they choose to live, you know, go America, you know, kind of just feel dissociated from the future that's happening. But I wanted to kind of uh, close out the episode. My son's getting a little bit impatient, but I do agree with you that this has involved with many promises to many people about like the role of energy, the role of petroleum resources use, because I still think we can provide solar energy before providing AI. I still think solar energy is way more important to 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 set up for
Yeah.
early countries or even for our own rural neighbors here in America. I think our international interest, because I am like an American engineer and a Texan engineer. In Texas, we know is oil country. And so I am a Texas engineer, and I think with our petroleum, we can be making inroads with our rural neighbors, setting up, like you said, their AI libraries or their solar powered internet, Wi-Fi, so they can get plugged into, like America's Got Talent or whatever entertainment we push out. I really do think it's about that we should be providing technology to people that don't have it. And if this is like a nuclear moment where like the world needs to get ahead because of climate change, because like maybe China wants to help climate change too with their, well, China has electrical cars already, way more effective than America. So they've solved cars, but America has solved, I guess, multiracial nation state building. But I think we all have to somehow be in the room together, looking forward, with all the AIs that we figure out. Because even China has their own AI.
Yeah.
Actually, they have several generations of AI technology, but they're not bombing Iran. You know, so I wonder how does that play? Because China also has um, probably project management AI. We should
Yeah.
talk about that. Chinese project management AI. Because you seem like it's a proven technology.
Yeah.
I want to talk about that. Maybe the next episode.
Definitely. And yeah, I think I just wanted to acknowledge that China also has a massive carbon footprint from all the
Yeah.
progress. For example, the concrete that they pour every year, I think they probably pour more concrete every year than US does by probably like 2 or 3x. Um, so I think maybe that might, motivate China to like not build so much infrastructure, uh, like just stop building buildings that nobody's living in. All the empty towns and empty cities that you've built. Maybe they'll focus their attention away from that and just towards creating artificial general intelligence. I think that that's definitely going to be a better future for rest of humanity, because they can definitely do it.
Do you
Uh,
think AI is really good at identifying like wasteful expenditures, to wasteful use of material like that? Like it's really good at tracking that stuff?
yeah, definitely. I mean, it does. For example, they used AI for all sorts of like Doge research activities, which didn't get approvals, I guess, from Congress and stuff. But it has kind of shown that there's possible to kind of collect unstructured data. So right
Oh,
now, a lot of data is just like scattered all over the place within various departments of city would have 12 departments. Everyone has their own data. It's unstructured. Nobody follows the same invoicing form. Um,
yeah.
so and nobody like knows who is supposed to sign on the invoicing form. So it's kind of like it is really good at taking everything and then putting a structure to it so that it's like queryable, so you can query it, you can see like what the big ticket items are. You previously weren't able to like really find out why the city is spending 60% on public safety, like it's like why do, and maybe that's something that ChatGPT would be able to answer eventually, is like why city of Austin spends 60% of public safety and like 5% on public works. um,
Mhm.
so I think we'll find that, and I think for next episode I did want to give just a pitch that we will be talking about all the implications from AI to our water utility rates, because we're seeing in our communities rates have gone up 100% for every investor-owned utility, and I think so. Last 4 years ago, whenever I would attend a conference, they would talk about how much water is like um, cheap when we sell it, and how like we sell it by 1,000 gallons, and why the utility rate for water should go up, and people should pay for like water the same as they do for bottled water or for coke or for oil. And I think uh, that question has now turned into this reality where now every investor or utility has pretty much doubled the cost of water. And second thing they've done is the smart water meters. They are calculating the amount of water usage by much higher magnitude. Uh, like for example, my water use is between 5 to 10,000 gallons a month. Right. Some of these investor-owned utilities with smart water meters are claiming people are using 30,000 gallons a month. And I think those are questions that I very serious questions. They're not conspiracy theories. It is being reflected in the water bill. People are sharing screenshots of their water bill. There are ways to protest it, and all that will be uncovered in the next episode, where we'll go deep into why Central Texas consumers, and I, because that's our focus area. But I think listeners from all over the country can see the same situation being there in their communities, where their water bill is going to be unaffordable, uh, in one word, and just unrealistic in second.
I think so. I also heard that gas prices could go up.
Yes.
And so it's, yeah, let's keep track of our bills and see what we can do to teach them how to protest. I might look up some like San Antonio water rates. I'll do some research so I can talk about like San Antonio water utility stuff. And maybe you can present some from over there, Buda.
Yeah, and there is also case from like I think London where Thames Water Utility is an investor-owned utility, and they've increased the rates so much that people are like losing their water connections. And the I think the GDP or like per capita or the amount of money people make in London is like half of people what make in US, and they're paying like same as they would for the water bill, I guess. And so it's pretty bad everywhere, all over the world. The investor-owned utilities have like double the price of water, and so if you would, I'm speculating it completely, but if you start looking into San Antonio water systems, then you might see a trend that the investor-owned utilities have doubled their rates, and then in 4 or 5 years, or maybe 3 years, the public utilities will look at the investor rates, and they'll be like, hey, everyone else is charging this much, this is the new standard, let's raise our rates too. And that's what I'm scared about, is like the people who are living in the city of Austin, city of San Antonio, Houston, Dallas, these major metropolitan areas where they're really are working in jobs that don't pay that well, and they don't see raises every year. Like they don't see like those 3% raises every year. Um, how I think this is going to be really, really bad for our society if this large cities start raising their water utility rates by looking at the investor-owned utilities, which are already increasing their rates by 100%. And that's I think that should be I think there should be like cap on like how much you can increase, probably like 10% a year, or maybe like 5 or 3. It shouldn't be like you can just raise it by 100%. I think that's just uh, the bad parts of capitalism.
Well, it looks like we have a lot to talk about. I even wanted to throw in some other topics, but my son's telling me he wants to go play.
Okay.
Uh, but
Feliz.
yeah,
Feliz
so
Navidad.
Feliz, he's here. Well, thank you, Sanjay, for coordinating some of this. And thanks to all of our listeners for tuning in. But are there any parting words before
Yes.
we end the episode, of course?
Yeah, so I'll be in Colombia next month. So that's which I'm gonna have a lot of fun. But me being me, I'm very like water nerd. So and I've been watching videos about like water issues in Central America and South America, and how tourists are causing like these huge water bills for, and then the people who are like native to the land, they're not able to afford water, and they're not even able to shower. So that's something that I'll try to uncover firsthand by being in Colombia. I don't know how bad the situation is there, but um, if it is what the media is portraying it is, or what I've seen on YouTube, I think I will have a lot to talk about in the next episode from my trip as well in South America. And I hope the situation is better there because I've never been. I hope water is not as big of a commodity as it is in US, but I think I'll be able to talk more about it after I come back.
Well, looking forward to it. I'm going to be moving apartments, so for next episode, expect a new environment from me.
And we'll see what kind of water utility you end up with.
Yeah. Well, we're here. Feel free to reach out to our various social platforms on YouTube, on Substack. Um, yeah, we're present.
And I would like to also see if you get charged for like setting up your new connection at the new place, because I just want to know like if they are charging for like just you starting a new connection. So let me
Yeah.
know what your bill looks like.
Well, I'm gonna be living with family, so I don't have to do that.
Okay.
But yeah, when I do, I'll let you know.
Okay. Feliz Navidad. Bye.
Feliz. Bye.